Have you ever felt like no matter how long you study English, you never improve? Your pronunciation feels off, listening makes no sense, speaking feels awkward, and you just want to give up? But what if I told you a story that could change everything? Cold Danish winter morning. In a small Danish town, winter mornings feel endless. The sky is gray, the streets are frozen, and inside a modest kitchen, a husband and wife sit in silence. Coffee, bread, and no words, just the ticking clock echoing louder than it should. Silence may look harmless, but the brain hates it. Psychologists call it negative mind reading. You start inventing reasons why the other person isn't speaking. She doesn't care. He doesn't love me. Suddenly, breakfast feels colder than the snow outside, like a broken Wi-Fi call. They are in the same place but disconnected. Science shows that unresolved silence builds stress, piling up like snow at the door, harder to push away each day. And while they sit in that winter kitchen, both wonder the same thing. When did our hearts grow this cold? Unspoken distance. Picture this. Two people share the same apartment, the same roof, even the same grocery list. Yet they feel like strangers passing in a train station. They exchange nods, sometimes a forced smile, but their words have shrunk to the bare minimum. Dinner's ready. Don't forget the keys. That's it, the strangest part. Psychologists say loneliness doesn't always come from being alone. It often comes from being together without connection. It's like standing next to someone with headphones on, close in space, galaxies apart in feeling. In this Danish home, that's exactly what the marriage has become. Proximity without intimacy. The husband scrolls through his phone after work. The wife washes dishes with her mind elsewhere. Silence isn't just silence, it's distance disguised as peace. And the brain? Oh, it notices. Humans are wired to seek signals from others. No signal feels like rejection, and rejection registers in the brain the same way as physical pain. That's right. Emotional distance can sting like a bruise you can't see that. If you've ever walked into a room and felt the invisible, cold air of someone's mood, you know what this is. Words unspoken are heavier than words shouted. And over time, the couple has started speaking less, not because they have nothing to say, but because they're afraid nothing will be heard. Here's the quiet tragedy. They still care. They still remember laughter, warmth, and late-night talks. But caring without speaking is like owning a lamp and never turning it on. The distance grows, even when the love hasn't fully died. Daily routine in silence. Morning in Denmark often begins with the smell of coffee, the crunch of rye bread, and the slow shuffle of boots on icy sidewalks. For this couple, it begins the same way, except without voices. They move like two actors in a play with no lines, rehearsing the same routine every single day. That he ties his scarf, she checks her bag, they walk out the door together, but the silence walks with them. On the train, he stares at the blurred winter fields rushing past. She scrolls through her phone, pretending to read but really just avoiding the awkward quiet. The rhythm of life continues, work, home, dinner, bed, repeated like a playlist stuck on loop. Here's the kicker, the brain craves novelty. Neuroscience shows that routine without emotional connection numbs motivation, like eating the same bland meal every day. That's why their mornings feel heavier than the weather. Silence isn't just silence. It's boredom sharpening itself into loneliness that you've probably felt it yourself. Sitting next to someone you once loved talking to, now reduced to chewing in the same room. No argument, no drama, just emptiness. That emptiness, repeated day after day, can be more damaging than a fight. At least fights mean you still care enough to clash. Silence means the heart is running on low battery, and yet, this routine continues, because it's easier to keep quiet than to risk an uncomfortable conversation. The danger? Comfort turns into a cage. What looks peaceful from the outside is actually two people trapped in a winter they can't escape. Hidden regrets. Underneath all that silence, memories still flicker like candlelight refusing to go out. The wife remembers their first summer together, eating ice cream near Nyhavn, laughing at tourists who fed seagulls French fries. The husband remembers late-night bike rides through quiet Copenhagen streets, her scarf flying behind like a ribbon. Those moments still live inside them, but now they taste bittersweet. Psychologists call this rosy retrospection. The brain loves replaying the good old days, often polishing them brighter than they really were. It's not lying, it's longing. Both of them replay these memories in private, each wondering, when did it all start to fade? Regret grows like frost creeping along a window, slow, silent, unstoppable. The problem is, regret without action becomes a loop. Neuroscience shows that regret activates the same part of the brain as physical pain. That's why remembering a lost opportunity feels like being punched in the stomach. Every, "what if I had tried harder?" or "what if I had said something?" stings in real time. Have you ever sat in a room with someone you loved, wanting to speak, but swallowing your words instead? That's exactly what happens in this Danish home. Each partner secretly hopes the other will break the silence first. Each imagines saying, "I miss us." But the words get stuck somewhere between the throat and the heart, and so, the house fills with invisible ghosts, not of people, but of conversations never spoken. Regret becomes the third guest at their dinner table, sitting silently between them. The breaking point. It doesn't take a storm to break something. Sometimes it's just a teaspoon dropping in the sink. One evening, the husband comes home late, and the wife has already eaten. She sighs, not loudly, but just enough. He notices. He asks, "Why are you always upset?" She fires back, "Why are you never here?" And suddenly, the silence of months bursts open like a frozen pipe. The argument is small on the surface, about schedules, dinners, chores. But arguments are rarely about what they look like. Psychologists call this the iceberg principle. What you fight about is just the tip. What lies beneath are unmet needs, loneliness, and unspoken fears. That's why a missing dinner becomes a battlefield for years of unspoken pain. Their voices rise, echoing against the kitchen walls. At first it feels destructive, like throwing stones at glass. But oddly, there's also relief. The human brain is wired to crave expression. Studies show that bottling up emotions increases stress hormones, while even an imperfect release, like shouting, can actually reduce internal pressure. In other words, yelling is messy, but silence is poison. The husband blurts, "I feel invisible." The wife replies, "I feel alone even when you're here." Those sentences hang in the air like fragile glass ornaments, terrifying but real. For the first time in months, the truth is not hidden, it's spoken. Here's the paradox: breaking often precedes healing. Just as ice cracks before spring thaw, relationships sometimes need a fracture before the warmth can return. And in that kitchen, amidst spilled words and shaky breaths, something begins to shift. A walk in Copenhagen. The next day, after the storm of words, neither of them wants to sit in that heavy kitchen again. So the wife suggests something simple: let's go for a walk. It's February, cold enough to make your teeth chatter, but they bundle up in coats and scarves and step outside. Copenhagen at night is quiet in a way that feels almost sacred. Streetlights glow like small suns, and bicycles lean neatly against walls, their wheels shining with frost. They walk side by side, not touching, not talking at first, just listening to the crunch of snow beneath their boots. Strangely, the outside cold feels less suffocating than the inside silence. Walking is magic for the human brain. Neuroscientists say movement helps regulate emotions by calming the amygdala, the part of the brain that freaks out when you're upset. That's why so many difficult conversations go better on a walk than at a table. The rhythm of footsteps acts like background music, softening the edges of conflict. As they pass Tivoli Gardens, still closed for winter, he finally says, "I don't want us to disappear." She stops, breath visible in the freezing air, and answers, "Neither do I." The words are small, but they're enough. They don't solve everything, but they plant a seed. Have you ever noticed how cities look different at night when you're vulnerable? The same street feels new, as if it's holding your secret. That's what Copenhagen does for them now, becoming a witness, a silent friend, as two people start talking again after months of drought. One step, one word, one confession at a time, the ice begins to crack. Spring comes slowly. In Denmark, spring doesn't arrive with fireworks. It tiptoes in, first with longer daylight, then the sudden shock of seeing tiny green shoots breaking through the frozen ground. For this couple, healing follows the same rhythm, slow, hesitant, almost invisible at first. Their mornings begin to change. He still makes coffee, but now he asks, "Do you want sugar?" She still slices rye bread, but sometimes she smiles as she hands him a piece. Small gestures, nothing dramatic, but scientists say these micro-moments of connection are the true building blocks of intimacy. The brain releases oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, even from brief eye contact or a shared laugh. That's how trust rebuilds, molecule by molecule. They begin doing ordinary things together again, shopping for groceries, watching Danish TV dramas, taking short bike rides when the weather allows. At first, it feels awkward, like learning to walk after an injury. But repetition creates comfort. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself through practice. In love, that means you can literally build new emotional pathways just by choosing connection, again and again. Of course, not every day is warm. Some mornings still feel frosty, some dinners end in silence. But now there's a difference. Silence is no longer permanent. They know spring is coming, even if winter still lingers. And that hope itself becomes fuel. Think about it. Nature never skips winter, but it never fails to deliver spring either. Relationships follow the same law. After the coldest seasons, warmth always finds its way back, slowly, gently, but surely. A new beginning. By April, Copenhagen begins to bloom. Bicycles crowd the streets again, tulips appear in windows, and the air finally smells less like frost and more like possibility. For the couple, this change outside mirrors the shift inside their home. They are not magically fixed. They still disagree, still stumble, still carry scars from their silent winter. But something crucial has changed. They choose each other again. One evening, sitting by the window with tea, the husband says softly, "I don't know if we'll ever be like before." The wife nods, then answers, "Maybe we don't need to be. Maybe we just need to be better now." It's not a cinematic declaration, but it's honest. And honesty, at this stage, feels like the purest form of love. Psychologists call this earned security, the strength that comes not from never breaking, but from breaking and repairing. The brain, once flooded with stress hormones, now begins to associate their presence with calm again. They are rewiring not only their marriage but also their nervous systems. Here's the truth. Real love isn't the butterflies at the start, nor the silence of despair. It's the decision, repeated daily, to keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when it's not perfect. That's what they've discovered. On a quiet spring evening, they take each other's hands. Not like in the past, not like strangers, but like two people who have survived the coldest winter and are ready to walk into the next season together. Start your journey today. Watch, practice, and feel English like never before.